welcome back. I am so thrilled to be bringing you our next speaker. She knows a thing or two about really facing life's challenges head on. In 1996, her husband was diagnosed with brain cancer, and conventional medicine wasn't able to help him. So she took it upon herself to actually figure out a way that she could help her husband. That in and of itself is a huge responsibility, but she figured out a way, and I'm happy to say her husband is still here today and doing quite well. And through that, she developed a system called the BioCode System, and she is here today to share with us really how you can step up and take full responsibility for your life, step into a more authentic and a more viable life and business for yourself. So welcome, Dr. Jill Kahn.
Hey, Kim, I'm so excited to be here.
Oh,
This
I'm
is
so
so
glad to
much
have you here
fun.
today.
The success startup. How,
Yeah.
how cool is this?
It's great. You know, what's so nice is that we're able to talk to people from all over the place. Like earlier, we had Danny on from the Ukraine. And it's what's so cool about Zoom is like knowing that, okay, we can bring all these people together and have an audience from all over the place as well and be able to share this information, whereas before you'd have to fly into a live event. So I know that will come back at some point, but I love being able to do this, especially when there's such impactful information. So I started by introducing really what was the thing that was kind of the catalyst for the change and the development of your company, of Empowerment Group, of the BioCode System. And there's so many different levels that I want to get to in this, but I would love to first start with, if you take us back to what happened what you were doing when your husband was diagnosed and how that kind of evolved and helped you, not only helping him, but managing your family as well.
Well, I am so grateful to be here and to be able to share on your stage. Thank you so much for pulling this together. And, because it's all about helping people, that's why I exist. That's why I've always existed. I've been in health and wellness since 83. So I'm definitely not new to the game here. And, it's interesting before I even say like what happened on that day, it's like in life, sometimes we pick our lessons and sometimes they pick us. And in this case, I did not raise my hand and say like, hey, I think I'll have, malignant brain cancer, for 500, please. No, I didn't ask for that. But in hindsight, you could see why those gifts, I call them gifts that come in ugly packages, exist. So yeah, it was, I've been on the health and wellness journey my whole life, and I am the health nuttiest nut of all. I've always lived my life this way, and it's just been part of who I am. Since a young child, I've always had an affinity for this. So when you're living a healthy lifestyle, mindset, wellness, I'm a vegan, exercise, all that, whatever you think is in that bucket. And I'm married. My husband is a chiropractor as well, and he was living a very healthy lifestyle. And you don't think like things like that are going to come our way, but who's exempt from life? I mean, really, like nobody is exempt from life.
Right.
So back in 96, it was July 4th, Independence Day. That's a symbolic day right there,
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and we had moved into the neighborhood where we live now, and we're like, July 4th, let's meet some friends, let's have some fun. We were so young. Our kids were 3 and 5 at the time, and I had my kids at the pool, and Danny, my husband, picked up a basketball game with some friends, new friends in the neighborhood, meet some guys, right? Some people. And out of nowhere, somebody comes rushing at me, Jill, come quick, it's Danny. I'm like, wait, what? Like, you don't even know what that means.
Right.
They grab my kids. I rush over to where he was, and he was laying on the floor. He had just had a grand mal seizure.
Ooh.
I mean, he didn't even know who he was. He didn't know who I was. They rushed him to the local hospital, only to find out that he was diagnosed with a malignant brain tumor. And basically, what they said was he had 5 to 7 years to live, even with or without treatment. You're 35 years old at the time. 5 to 7 years means nothing. Like, what is that? Like, that's like, no, that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
So granola girl over here, what I did is I ran to every white coat on the planet. I called them the white coats. Tell me something other than this. I'm sorry.
Ah.
So I knew the body had an ability to heal itself. I mean, I've been in the wellness profession forever, but this felt like way bigger than me, way more than I knew about. So, my mind, you know how when your thoughts are going around and they won't stop and there's an answer, but you quite like, there's got to be an answer, like that little spinny thing on the computer. And
Yeah,
my mind
you
was
can't get
racing.
out of it enough. You can't step back enough to even see it because you're so caught up in it.
You just want to figure it out, and you're trying to figure out things that are, in your mind. There's no answer to it right then and there. So then, Kim, there was that moment. There was that moment where I was standing by the kitchen sink. It was just a couple of weeks in, and a feeling like no other came over me.
Mm.
And my whole mind and body went from total chaos to instant peace. And in that moment, I knew. And I turned to my husband and I said, Danny, not only are you going to be okay, but we are going to help so many people
Ah,
as a
God,
result of
it
this.
just totally
And,
gives me chills.
and we took it on ourselves. But how do you take on something that big when you don't know what you're doing? And there's high risk involved in this. We're not talking about like, what do I want to be when I grow up? We're
Yeah.
talking about life and death. I mean, there's high risk involved in taking on something when the truth is I didn't even know what I was doing. How would I know anything in that category? But I knew that the options that were on the table were unacceptable. So I
Mm.
threw myself into the unknown, knowing there were answers out there and I was about to find them. And that's where the journey first began. And that's how I started, just trying to figure it out, figure out that what seemed to be the unfigure outable.
Yeah. Well, and what you say right there is that there were answers that were out there, but they were unacceptable. And so instead of going, okay, I'm just going to follow what they say because they're the experts and they know, there was that granola part of you, that other part of you that said, no, there's got to be a better way. Like there's just got to be a better way. And the willingness to open your mind to that possibility. That's what I think is absolutely so key here, because it's being able to say, look, there's got to be something else. I may not have the solution yet, but if I keep standing in that belief that there has to be something, and then like you said, all of a sudden this feeling comes over you, like not only is it going to be saving your husband, but it's going to absolutely help so many other people as well.
Well, something interesting happened right away, and this was very unexpected. I started to, because I was the one navigating it. I was the one like cheerleading, like we could do this, we got this, I know what we were doing. But I started to feel enormous pressure. I
Yeah.
started to feel pressure from the medical community, like to do what they said that they
Right.
suggested, even though it wasn't going to work. I felt pressure from well-intended people, like family, like just do what the doctors say. He could die. I'm like, well, he definitely will die if I do what the doctors say. And the pressures and the internal pressures of what if I'm wrong? It
Right.
was nonstop. So very shortly in, I had this realization that in order to help Danny save his life and me to help him navigate this, I needed to strengthen myself in it. I needed to strengthen me. Now, what I didn't know is over the next 3 years, I was developing an incredible skill set to stay strong, objective, and steady while making any choices, while listening to hard conversation, while navigating change. I had no idea that I was developing this incredible skill set. So I'm going to give you the fast forward so everybody in the audience could do the cheerleading moment. Danny lived. He lived to tell the story. He's
Yeah.
alive and well and healthy and amazing. And as a result of those 3 years, an incredible skill set birthed from that is now helping people not only with the big problems. What I have found over so many years now of doing this, it's the everyday stuff
Mm.
that's depleting people and sucking the life out of people, and everyday stress more than the big things, because people think that's just normal and it's just the way it is. This is what's required. This is life. No. Once they learn these skills, it just changes everything.
That's an interesting point because it is, I think we're so used to as a society, as a culture to, there's pressure on us, right, to do certain in school, go on to college, whatever it may be, get a job, da da da, or whether we are starting a business. We're here talking about entrepreneurs, but the it's we set this up, whether it comes from society or our past or a family, and that there's these expectations, and so we kind of blindly go down that road. And all this stress is coming, but we don't really pay attention to it. It's almost like you have to have, some of our other speakers were talking about like these things that happen in their life that completely change the trajectory of their life simply because it was a wake up call. And they might have been getting some of these wake up calls earlier, but they weren't listening to them. So they became bigger and bigger and louder, until like, your husband has a brain tumor. And it's like, oh, maybe there's some other things here and what can we do? But I love how you say that it's, yes, there are these big things and we can work on that, but there's also these everyday stresses that happen in our lives. And if we don't learn how to actually deal with those, they really can start to take over and run and ruin our lives.
Oh, not they can, they do. I mean, 80% of the world. Now I'm heavily involved in the subject. I have studies on it and I've created assessments around it. But 80% of the world, 80% of the world, not just the workforce, but the
Mhm.
world are unhappy with their life and feeling stress on a daily basis. Kim, that is not even a problem. That's an epidemic. And I'm saying it's because we never got tools when we were younger of how to manage ourselves in stressful situations and strengthen ourselves. Every person on the planet is going to be exposed to problems. That's life. That's what we signed up for. And when it comes to academic skills, we're always dealing with problems, but there's systematic ways of approaching them and helping ourselves. But when it comes to behavioral agility and intelligence, we are winging it. We are homeschooled. We're schooled by our parents and their parents. And I'm telling you, we're not doing a very good job because everybody has this decentralized learning and they have their own right book. So now we come to a conversation behaviorally, and if your book doesn't match mine in that moment when something's not going according to plan, boom, proving, protecting, justifying, and defending. So the work that I teach is, I do believe the answers are out there. We know what to do. What we don't know is how to do it. Be good, be kind, be courteous, live in the moment. The people that I'm meeting are so stressed out. The last place they're trying to live in is the moment. They want to work their moments from where they're at in their life, with their thoughts, with their stresses, with their situations. The bar to be the difference we want to see in the world is way too high.
Mhm.
Be one with yourself. Have you seen me? The last person I want to be one with is me. We need skills and we need tools to work our moments, not just live in them.
Yes. Well, 80%, when you give that statistic, 80% of the world is unhappy with what they're doing. And so to be able to say to somebody, okay, you just need to take a chill pill. Like you need to relax. You need to just kind of meditate and get into that zone and just really be present with your thoughts and stuff. And, that's all fine and dandy, but there are so many other levels to this. And like you said, I don't want to, do I want to be one with me? Like, when you're all these different areas, you have all this different energy and trying to put out fires or help people here and there. And I think it's kind of just the tip of the iceberg, really, isn't it? I mean, it's just
Well,
there's just so much that goes into all of this.
there is and there's not. So, stress is a given. Everybody in life is going to have stress in their life because stress really is an instrument for growth. And most people have strategies of how to handle stressful moments in their life, whether it be them annoying themselves or other people or situational. It doesn't really matter. Everybody feels uncomfortable moments throughout the day and it fluctuates and it changes throughout the day. And the most common strategy to deal with a stressful moment is what I call the take the day off strategies. We move away from the environment. We do all the things that I love and you love, Kim. Maybe
Mhm.
we meditate or exercise or take a nap or chill out, whatever it might be, to replenish ourselves again.
Yep.
But here's the problem. Come Monday morning or that next moment, it is going to be waiting for you again. The work that I do is take the day on work, where people learn the strategies in the moment, real time, real life, to flex those muscles throughout the day so they become stronger than their stress. Their life becomes a gym. They become the athlete of their life and they use the stress as the strategy for personal growth. And if you get stronger, you know what happens to those weights? They feel easier. And that's the key to success, is to give people tools, real life strategies to work themselves in moments. I say a day's going to go by anyway. You might as well be exercising yourself. seeing
Mhm.
where you can't do it and doing the biocodes, which are behavioral exercises in the moment, 1 second, and let's try again. So slowly over time, you become stronger and stronger, and life, the same people, the same traffic, the same everything feels easier.
Mhm. It's really it's building a muscle. It's in a sense, it's building a muscle and stepping into those moments where you in a sense are stopping, recognizing it, even if it's for a second, but being able to stop, recognize, and catch it and go, oh, okay, we've got to maybe correct this or get a handle on this rather
That's
than
right.
allowing it to envelop you.
And there's so many misconceptions of what to do in that moment, because taking the high road's not going to work. Looking the other way is not going to work. Just don't worry about it. It's not going to work. We have to have specific exercises to correct those patterns. And that's what the system teaches you, is how to create a new way of thinking and a new way of acting and new skills in that moment. So you're doing the proper exercises in the moment to really build sustainable change, and it's habit forming in the best way possible.
Yeah, well, habit forming and creating a brand new habit for yourself that's going to be something that's going to be helpful to you in the long run. But when I look at this and the levels of stress compared to, or, in relation to rather, to people that are starting businesses or that are in businesses, and particularly moms, and I'm wondering if you see this in your practice more so. Do you see the stress affecting, or maybe it's 50-50, but do you see it affecting more females than males? Moms or dads? Is there kind of a division there?
Well, I'll tell you, when I went back into practice after my husband was out of the woods, and the first group of people that found me obviously were cancer patients. I'm like, hey, I'm not a cancer doctor. I can teach you how to get stronger in it. I
Yeah.
can teach you how to navigate from the inside out. And they started to accept responsibility for their life. And then somebody said, my wife doesn't have cancer. I was calling my formulas back then, but I feel like your formulas could really help her. And then it was the kid. And then what I realized was it didn't matter
Mm,
across the board, whether it was a female, a male, a life problem, a health problem, a what do I want to be when I grow up problem. There was a missing skill set in all of them. And once they started to learn how to accept responsibility for their life in those moments, they started to really make big time changes. And it didn't matter whether it was the playground, the kids on the playground, or people in the boardroom. It didn't matter. This missing skill set
mhm.
of human behavior while under stress and how to strengthen yourself in those moments was missing again and again and again and again and again. So I don't know if it discriminates. I think it's just we were never taught. But now I'm on a mission to teach people and get this skill out there. I want it in every school. I want it in every company. I want everybody to have access to it, because it's easy to learn. It's
Mm.
definitely hard to master, but it's definitely easy to learn. It's solving for a big problem.
Well, it's like you say, we weren't born with this manual and that gives us the tools to know, okay, how do I respond when this situation arises? And I'm going to deal with it anyway, but how? And so often I think we tend to run and hide. For me, it's like put my head down, focus, and boo, just, I'm going to plow through it. I'm a fixer. I'm going to plow through it. I'm going to get it done. But I don't realize what that is putting on me, the stress that it's actually adding to me, and also how it's really not helping those around me because it's not serving a purpose for them, to teaching them, okay, that's not the way to handle it. Don't put the blinders on and think I'm going to push my way through this and just boom, 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 get things done. There's another way to look at it. And I just know I can see that so clearly how I've done that in my own life, and how I think if you're able to bring this to other individuals, and whether it be in schools and leadership and businesses and business in general, it's really teaching people another level of responsibility to stop and be aware and then operate from that
100%.
awareness.
What you're saying is so true. Most people believe this. They believe that the problems of their life are the problem. And if I could only get rid of that problem, if people would just start acting right, if people would do what they're supposed to do, if they would keep their word. And I am here to say that the problems of our life really aren't the problem. That's the game that we're playing. It's us in it. And if you kind of take it this way, here's a new way of thinking. So the listeners could walk away with a new thought, right? let's use an analogy like a challenge course or an obstacle course. So, you have the challenge course and the obstacle course, you have the high jump and the shot put and all the different activities, right? Now, if you were a new athlete, a newbie athlete, you might look up at that challenge, that high jump, and go like, there's no way, that's too high, I'm going to hurt myself. You trip over everything, you'd fall down, you get up, you pick up that shot put and go, oh, I'm going to pull on my neck, why do I need to do this? You take a jump, the sand would get in your face, right? Because the challenge that you're facing is greater than your ability to handle it. But if you were an Olympic athlete who is a phenomenal athlete, which I know some personally, they would jump over that high jump. They'd pick up the shot put, they'd take a jump, they'd run the meter, whatever they would do, and come back and say, Jill, that was so much fun. What's next?
Yeah.
Are the problems of our life really the problem? Or is it us in it? And I am here to say it's us in it. And we start to see our problems as our instruments for our personal growth, to see where we fold, where we fall, where we can't do it, where we lose our patience, and to use the biocodes to get stronger in it, then all of a sudden, fill in the blank, whatever you're facing is easier. It's just so much easier to navigate day-to-day life. Now, how does that affect an entrepreneur? When you have the personal stability, clarity, and consciousness to be able to walk into any situation in your power, to be able to come to it from a place of clarity and strength and walk out exactly how you walked in without bringing that stress or complaint or problem with you. Number one, you are going to have better days. You're going to be more productive and you're going to keep your focus forward on what you're doing. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs. I work with a lot of companies. And the two things that tank most businesses are people problems and the rate and speed of transformation, trying to keep up or get business, right? To make things happen.
Right.
So this solves for both of it, because when one individual learns their part in it and they could approach anything
Yeah.
from a place of strength, it changes everything.
It's taking personal responsibility kind of to a whole nother level. It's really stepping into who you want to be, rather than allowing the stress and other areas or other people, other situations, looking outside yourself and putting it on that and thinking, oh, okay, well that's happening or this is happening. And that's the problem. If I could just get the money, I could handle this, if I could just get good help, this wouldn't be an issue. But it really comes back to personal responsibility and that ownership of stepping into who you really want to be. And that's a mind shift, because you're stepping into a different way of being.
Totally requires tools, but that's the secret right there. That's the life-changing secret. Now, I've been working with people for so many years now, and they're still using the tool. They're still doing these precise exercises in those moments, and each time they get stronger, and they have a way of constantly, a process of developing themselves regardless of the challenging situations that they face, regardless of the behaviors of others. This is unconditional. This is all about one person. If you go to the gym, say we go together, whether I'm working out or not, or doing the right thing or not, is not going to get you stronger. And you thinking lifting a weight, which is stress on a muscle, by putting it down because it's causing you stress is going to make you stronger. Absolutely not. We never learned how to use these moments and these challenges as instruments for personal growth. Now that people have tools and they could start flexing in those moments, it's a game changer.
Hmm. What do you think the biggest thing is that you see, like the biggest shift? Like, does it take a little bit of time, or do you think people have, like in the work that you do with them, do you think that they have kind of this moment where it's almost like this aha moment, like, oh my gosh, I finally get it. Like it's on me, or is it?
I think that the any change needs tools. There's tools. This is the biocodes. There's 5 skills that they learn. They learn them one by one because we know more than we could do. I have no magic wand, no
Mhm.
instant winners. You learn the new way of thinking. You learn one biocode at a time, and then you practice it throughout your day. You don't take notes, you don't write, you don't read books. We know more than we could do. This is the do muscle. This is the practice. So as you go through your day and you feel a little pressure, you figure out, which I teach you how to do it, which of these biocodes are flashing like an indicator light, and it's going to tell you from the system what to flex in that moment, and then you're going to get to try it again. All change that sustains itself is small change in time, is what creates the huge sustainable change over time. No instant winners. We just need instant, we need tools in moments throughout
Mhm.
the day.
It's practicing it on a daily basis, really. I mean, if you're
It's
talking about creating new habits and changing and really getting into that larger shift for ourselves, it can't be something then really that you practice one day and then, a week later, oh, I'll come back to it. And oh yeah, like reading a book. It's like, okay, I remember that. And then you kind of put it down and then you come back to it. What you're really talking about is that you have to be aware, like you have to stop and be aware in the moment so that you can flex into that new way of being or that new thought process.
100%. It's a practice. I mean, what I created, honestly, I call it a daily inner workout. It's inner work, but
Mm,
you're doing it for yourself because you want to be that person. Everybody, their why of why anybody would learn the biocodes or do it is because they want to be that strong. They want to be that example. They want to show up that way, regardless of what somebody else is doing. That's freedom. That's freedom. If you could just focus on your part only, no matter what you're facing, and you're proud of how you showed up. And if you're not, you work on those moments inside of yourself and those muscles, you win. Because then
mhm.
it really is all about you, but in the best way possible. Because all about you is the stronger you become, the stronger you are for others. The easier it is to reflect, right? Reflect examples of what functional behavior looks like to others instead of righting the wrongs, pointing fingers. That's easy. It's
Mm.
easy to see what's wrong in the world. I want to see you demonstrate what's right and show up as that person, no matter what anybody else is doing, saying, thinking, feeling, or believing. Your part in it is the most important part for your whole entire life, no matter who you are, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a parent, whether you're planting, whether you're in traffic, it doesn't matter. Who you are in it is everything.
Mhm. Well, we're mirror images, right, for each other. And so when you show up with that energy of whatever it may be that's going on and looking outside and getting frustrated with it or stressed out or whatever, you're just reflecting that back, right and forth. So if you can show up as the individual that I don't want to use the word control because I think that's just I don't think that's really the right word for this, but awareness, I guess I'll go back to, and being able to flex into that other way of being, it just makes it so different. And for everybody, the experience changes. I think it diffuses all the problems that seem to be arising. And I would imagine that most people feel like, wow, that was a lot easier. Like those business things that I was dealing with, whether it's doing taxes, whether it's doing a hiring process for your business, whether it's getting ready for a launch as an entrepreneur, I would imagine you would kind of be able to step back and go, gosh, it was a lot easier than I thought it was, just by kind of doing what you're saying, following this like this.
100%. To have an objective way of looking at subjective things and
Mhm.
knowing how to work on those moments. It's not an arrival, it's wherever you're at. Whether, the whole program is based upon where you can't do something, where your focus is outside of yourself, where your thoughts are going and they don't serve you, when you have emotional instability, when conversations bother you, when you can't navigate change and bring your focus forward without bringing that disappointment with you. It's always growing, just like the gym, from where we're weaker. Because if we practice these skills in those moments and start getting stronger, that's where true empowerment comes from.
I love that because really what it is that it's not, what got you to this point isn't the thing that's going to get you to the next point. So
Mhm.
it's growing because we're always growing, right? So when you it's almost like you feel like, oh, okay, I fixed that, I solved that one. You really haven't solved that one. You're just, because there's always something's always going to arise. I mean, we're human beings, and so something's always going to arise. But what you're saying is it's really being able to learn how to deal with it in the moment. And then when you have another trigger or something else happens, it's being able to step into that and say, okay, how am I going to show up here and not allow this to really affect me? Because if I do that, then I'm giving really, you're giving your power away.
And if it does affect you, that's where you do the work. That's what the whole BioCode system is, the exercise. I want to see where it does affect me, where
Mm.
I do feel the frustration, where I do get overwhelmed, where I do start to worry. Because in that moment, you do the exercise and then you start growing. So it kind of meets you where you're at as moments and life fluctuates and changes, because it's always going to do that. At some moments in life, problems are going to be very easy to solve. Sometimes they take forever to solve. Some problems, as you and I know, are unsolvable. So
Mhm.
it can't be tied into an outcome. It has to be tied into your ability to do the work along the way, no
Mhm.
matter what presents itself in any given moment, whether it's an easy moment to biocode, which I call it, meaning work that moment, or it's a harder one, which is going to be a harder exercise. It's going to fluctuate and change. So this is really a tool to use more than a destination to get to.
Do you feel that, do you think that this is something that really helps? Well, let me rephrase this. I think what I often see, and I've seen it today, even interviewing so many different women with a variety of different backgrounds and huge success in many different areas of their life. Oftentimes we play a smaller game and we step back. Oftentimes we get into self-sabotage and we start this running scripts in our head where we kind of go like this defeatist attitude, and I feel like I see this a little bit more with women than I do maybe with some of the men that I know. And especially with moms, because we get that mom guilt, and we kind of pull back a bit and we don't allow ourselves to fully step into our own power. So I'm wondering if doing some of this and this like flexing into this other muscle, have you seen that this is something that really helps people to kind of show up for themselves, to basically play a bigger game?
Dramatically. I mean, dramatically. So there's 5 skill sets that we learn and we practice. So it's a good thing I didn't write the 856 codes to a better life, because
Oh my gosh, right?
I never, no, it just ended up that way, which is a whole different story. But within this code, the second one, it teaches you how to start strengthening your weaker thoughts and stories in your head, and how to build up that inner strength. Are we controlling our thoughts, or are they controlling us? Like, nobody wakes up in the morning and says like, oh, I hope I start worrying and have self-doubt and start letting people drive me crazy. It's because we never learned how to control our thoughts and
Mm.
start to strengthen that muscle and build up that inner strength. This code, the second one, which is all about inner strength, is honestly the best thing that I've ever seen, that's changed more lives personally than anything I've ever seen. It really does stop the story in our head. And it really does give you the tool to flex those emotional muscles that we need to build confidence, to build that inner strength, to build self trust, to build patience, and so forth. Because we learn what to do. What do you do when that's happening? Right?
Yeah.
What do you do?
Mhm.
Sure, you're going to go meditate. That's fine. But in the middle of a conversation, at 3:54 p.m., when your kids are driving you crazy, you're in the middle of a meeting, you just lost Wi-Fi, the dog got out, whether you meditated or not, or you ate your organic veggies or not, is not going to matter.
Right.
This is the exercise to do in that moment. And in that moment, you start practicing that, you start to get a little better, until eventually it becomes like, bring it, bring it. I
Yeah.
got this, because you have a tool to take it on.
I love that because it's years ago I remember somebody telling me, a therapist one time telling me, social psychologist, anyway, one time saying to me, well, there's many, everybody's got many different stories going on, and those are the things that kind of are dictating what we're doing in life, how we're showing up, and how we're because it hits certain buttons, right? There's certain triggers for us. So, you have to really go back and peel back the layers of the onion. And I used this analogy before. I was talking about this earlier, and I was like, that's a long process, because there's a lot of layers to that. But I love what you're saying about this. It sounds like more like, you know, you can use this in that moment, even if you're getting triggered and there's so much going on, to stop and like correct in the moment. So you don't have to just I understand there's a time and place for understanding where some of those old scripts are and if they're serving us or not, but you can kind of look at it. But what you're giving here is a tool to say, okay, not just look at it and go boom, it's now let's correct it, let's replace that with a different way of stepping into here, a different way of being.
Or at least trying it. The moments in life, all moments in life, live in behaviorally, right?
Mhm.
Live in one of two categories. Either a moment feels good or it doesn't,
Right.
period. It doesn't have to feel bad. But if it doesn't feel good, I call that a biocode moment. Those moments are your greatest opportunities to grow in your life, period. Because it's where life pushes against you, and then it will start to show you what lives within yourself. And when you can identify that, like you're talking about, and do some of these exercises in moments like that, you grow. And if
Mm,
you grow, you become stronger. It's as simple as that. So we want to see where you get triggered. That's the most valuable moments of all, because that's where the work is done. It's like we think it's like the pressures of life
yeah.
that are the big problem. And I'm saying that's not the big problem. If you were a lemon
Mhm.
and I'm the hands that's causing the problem, I'm squeezing you. I'm definitely the issue. I am causing the problem. But if you were a lemon and I squeezed you, you know what would come out of you?
Lemon juice?
Yes, because that's what lives within you. And
Yes.
if pressures of life squeeze you, or your parents drive you crazy, or traffic and frustration and worry and insecurity and overwhelm comes out of you, it's
Mm,
because that's what lives within you. And the biocodes show you how to identify that in moments, and then
yeah.
do a little exercise. Takes a second, and then you try again and try again and try again. And you create a process and a practice.
Ugh, I love it because it's great. It's really, it is. You don't know what you're really made of until you get some of these things that arise in you. And then it's like pushes those buttons, but it causes you to grow. And only through that growth and recognizing it is can we actually evolve into that other version of ourselves, that bigger picture vision that we have for ourselves. But you can't do it by just sitting back and allowing all that stuff to keep happening and not actually taking some steps and making some changes. So I love that. I love that you created this. And unfortunately, not the way in which it had to come about, but thankfully that, Danny's doing fine and he's okay today, but also that when you had that moment like of clarity, when the ball stopped spinning and it was like, okay, I know exactly what we're going to do. Like that's a light bulb moment, and it's a huge moment, but it's a huge, awesome, just an enormous responsibility for you on your shoulders to be going like, okay, I'm going to take this on. Like I would imagine you have to create something that will keep you sane during that entire process.
Well, that aha moment of we're going to do this, and that feeling that we can do that came, but this was developed over 3 years time. Like I for sure didn't just get it and I had a superpower, not by any means. This was developed slowly over time as I started to feel like I'm explaining to the viewers out there where I was folding, where I was getting weak. I knew in order to have a healthy conversation with anybody, especially with things that I didn't agree with, that I needed to be able to stand there and listen objectively without taking any of that personally, proving or protecting or justifying myself or making anybody wrong. I needed to be able to listen objectively and know that I am forever in choice and how to navigate that. I knew for a fact that I needed space to feel. This was scary. I
Yeah.
needed space to break down and cry and feel. And I knew that there was a time to deal. And I never allowed that to live in the same moment. There was a time to feel and a time to deal, and it never lived in the same moment. That's one of the most powerful skill sets, is
Mm,
knowing what to do in time and
right.
what's most useful in time. It's very powerful skills. I mean, I think everyone on the planet needs to know this. It should
Yeah.
have came, like I said, every school needs it. It's simple. It's simple once you get it. It's a new way of thinking, because
Yes.
the first point is that pain is an instrument for personal growth. We're not trying to get rid of it. We need to know how to use it,
Mhm.
period. We need to see life as our gym and see where we need to strengthen behaviorally. We
Mhm.
grow from where we're weak, not where we're strong. We're not trying to say, I did great. I want to see where you can't do it. I want to
Right.
see where you drive yourself crazy. I want to see where you lose it. In those moments will be your greatest opportunity to grow.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I can see that this has you know so many applications to it and so many different levels, but I clearly in school systems, I know that you have it in a lot of corporations. I know that you've worked with entrepreneurs with it, so your next level is to take it into the school systems. Do you have it there now, or you're getting it into those
We're
areas?
working on it. What we're doing right now is it's been years in the making, a couple of years in the making, is we're developing an online program one for just individuals. Anybody on the planet that wants to learn the BioCode system could go through a self-directed program. And we're basically at the 23rd hour of that. We're going to be utilizing an online program so it could be self-directed into companies. So it could be the behavioral standard.
Mhm.
This is how we behave while under pressure, and it gives them the tools to be able to have that level of personal leadership and personal accountability for who they are and how they show up in any given moment. And then we're going to take that online program and we're going to bring it into, we're going to start with middle schools and high schools. We haven't hit the younger, because you have to change the language so much, but the middle schoolers could get it very easily because
Mhm.
we've worked a lot with teams and sports, and we've brought it to that that age group, and they absorb it so effortlessly. They love it. Once people get this tool in their hand, they go like this, like, oh my God, why didn't I know this my whole life? I wish I would have learned this when I was younger. It would have made my life so much easier because it's a new way of thinking.
Yeah. Well, and it changes the game for people because you start working, collaboratively with each other. It's not as much competitive and everything's outside me and the problems are out there. It's standing in your own power. Really, it does give you the capability of standing in your own power and knowing that you are responsible for this. And if you're responsible for this, that's an awesome idea because it allows you to realize, oh my gosh, I can create so much more by stepping into this, owning where I'm at, and really stepping into this version of me and this responsibility as a leader, which is
So
hugely important. I
it's
let
so
people
powerful.
for everything.
So powerful. And if you think of, like, I call it the help model, meaning if I know how to help myself and keep strengthening myself, regardless of where I'm at, because I am going to get weak and strong, it's going to change throughout the day. But any moment, no two moments are created equally, and every exercise is its own. It's never stacked. I did good, now I'm not doing good. Everybody does good and doesn't do good with this
Right.
program because it's behavioral exercises in moments, and moments change. But when you go ahead and you think about like using this as a tool and bringing this to children, I think of the, the model I've created is the help model. If I could learn my part in it, just my part, anonymously, I don't even talk about it, nobody even knows that I'm doing that. Number one, am I helping myself in that moment to become bigger, better, greater, stronger? Am I developing that muscle inside of myself? And number two, if I'm interacting with you, Kim, or anybody else on the planet, is it helpful? And if it's not helpful, make sure it's not hurtful. We always want to flow from the help model. And the help
Mm.
model is not bypassing yourself and talking to the level of the problem. It's stabilizing yourself first. So when you walk into any situation, any problem, any stress, who you are in it is more important than what it is. Step one, then step two.
Right.
Step one, who you are. Step two, how am I going to approach that person? How am I going to deal with that problem? It's not taking away the problem. It's not taking the high
The
road.
problems
It's
aren't
not,
always going to go away. You can't just say, "Psh, okay, the problem's gone." It's
no,
really,
you have to come in with stability and clarity to meet that moment, no matter how hard it is. And that's what this does. It gives you the tools to keep working on yourself, to keep meeting moments, no matter how hard they are.
I love this. I love it just how it really helps you to step into a whole nother way of being and take that responsibility. So we're at our time, but thank you so much for being here. I know that you have a free gift, like a giveaway for our audience as well. Carrie Lynn is actually she just put it in the chat right now. If you want to tell anybody about what that is, but
Well, one of the things that I do, whether somebody learns the bio codes or not, I mean, I dedicated my whole life to helping other people help their lives. That's what I do. That's who I am. That's what I'll always be. So I created lessons of this where you don't even have to learn it, called the daily inner workout. And if you sign up on my website for the newsletter, in your inbox, you'll get these messages. And it will give you a daily inner workout with a message and a simple little practice that you could practice throughout the week, and then you'll get another one and another one. It's just, it's just something I could do to help people and reach people out there. So y'all welcome to sign up for that. And I do have a self-assessment. Whether you take the program or not, you'll find out vital information about yourself. I keep it up there for free, and it will teach you, it'll show you your behavioral intelligence and of these biocodes, which is your greatest opportunity personally to grow. So it's just good information for people. And y'all are welcome to take the assessment as well. It's for free.
Perfect. Okay. Well, I know Carrie Lynn dropped that in the chat. I just saw it in the chat. So that's there so people can access it. One last question before you go. What one word would you use to describe yourself?
Oh, I am a helper. I am a helper.
Mm, I would have said that. I would have said giver. I
Yeah, I'm definitely
love that.
show up and help people unconditionally. I show up and help people. That's who I am. I have helper hands. I told my kids that all along. They're like, "Mom, why don't you get manicures and do all the girly girl stuff?" I go, "I got helper hands, man. I'm the one there out there on the fields helping people."
I'm
Um,
in it. I'm working in it. I love it. I love it so much. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it and all the information that you shared. I can see the value of it on so many different levels and in so many different areas. So thank you. I
well,
appreciate it.
thank you for putting on this great platform and help. You're a helper too, and helping all these people. That's just
Yeah, I would probably say that. Yeah, I do love doing that though. I love bringing
definitely
this information to people because I think it's so necessary. It's just so beneficial.
so beneficial. Well, I am eternal grateful to know you and to be part of your program. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Bye.